Hey everyone, and welcome. Imagine a medieval kingdom. It's got towering walls, reinforced gates, and guards walking the perimeter. But who designed those defenses? Who figured out the best place for a watchtower? Who engineered the gate to withstand a battering ram?
It wasn't the guards, it was the master architect. In our digital world, that architect, that master builder of digital fortresses, is the security engineer. And in this series, you're going to learn how to become one. My name is Stephen One, and this is Module 1 of our master course on the Introduction to Security Engineering. Over the next few minutes, we are going to build the complete foundation for this critical role. We'll start by defining exactly what a security engineer does. Then, we'll break down their core responsibilities into 4 key pillars. We'll cover the skills and qualifications you need to get the job, why the role is so vital for modern businesses, and finally, we'll learn the 5 essential terms that make up the language of security. Ready? Let's get into it.
So, what is the primary mission? Simply put, a security engineer's job is to proactively prevent security breaches by designing and implementing secure systems from the ground up. They are the builders. Their work stands on 4 main pillars. First, design and architecture. Before a single line of code is written for a new app, the engineer is there, asking, how do we encrypt the data? How do we control access? They build security in from the start, not as an afterthought.
Second, build and implement. They don't just draw the plans, they get their hands dirty. This is the hands-on work of configuring firewalls, setting up intrusion detection systems, and deploying the actual tools that defend the organization.
Third, test and validate. A fortress is useless if you don't know its weak spots. Security engineers are constantly testing their own defenses, running vulnerability scans and penetration tests to find the holes before the bad guys do. And finally, maintain and upgrade. The threat landscape is always changing, so a security engineer's job is never done. They are constantly updating systems, patching weaknesses, and adapting the defenses to stand against new and emerging threats. Okay, so how do you become this master builder? It really comes down to a combination of 3 key areas. First, education and certifications. A bachelor's degree in computer science or cybersecurity is a common starting point, but certifications are huge. Foundational certs like CompTIA Security Plus or more advanced ones like the CISSP are how you prove you have the knowledge. Second, you need the technical hard skills. This means a deep understanding of networking, operating systems like Windows and Linux, and knowing how to script with languages like Python to automate tasks. These are your raw materials. And third, don't forget the professional soft skills. You have to be a great problem solver, an excellent communicator who can explain complex risks to non-technical people, and you must have a sharp eye for detail. All right, let's pause for a second and check our understanding. Here's a scenario. A company is launching a brand new mobile app. Which of these tasks would be a security engineer's primary contribution? A. Monitoring the app for live attacks after it launches. B. Designing the secure login and data encryption features before development even begins. Or C. Answering customer support calls about the app. Think about that proactive architect mindset. I'll give you a few seconds. Drop your answer A, B, or C in the comments below. The answer is B. Remember, the security engineer is the architect. Their most critical job is to build security in from the very beginning. Monitoring for attacks is crucial, but that's typically the role of a security analyst in a SOC or Security Operations Center. Great job! Finally, to be a security engineer, you have to speak the language. Let's quickly define 5 of the most important terms you'll hear every single day. A threat is a potential for harm. Think of it as the attacker, like a burglar. A vulnerability is the weakness the threat uses, like an unlocked window. Risk is the potential for loss when that threat exploits the vulnerability.
It's the chance the burglar will actually get in through the window and steal something. An exploit is the specific tool or method used to take advantage of the vulnerability, like a crowbar used to pry open the window. And finally, an incident is when it all comes together. The burglar successfully uses the crowbar to get through the window and a breach occurs.
All right, that was a lot, but you did an amazing job. Let's do a quick recap.
Today, you learned that a security engineer is the master architect of an organization's digital defenses. Their work is built on the 4 pillars of designing, building, testing, and maintaining secure systems. You now know the blend of education, technical skills, and soft skills needed for the role. And you can speak the foundational language of security by defining threat, vulnerability, risk, exploit, and incident. You have officially laid the cornerstone of your security engineering knowledge. But to defend the kingdom, you also have to understand how it's built.
That's why in our next video, Module 2, Foundational IT Concepts, we're diving into the fundamentals of Windows, Linux, and the networking concepts that power our digital world. It's the essential knowledge every single security pro needs.
So if you're ready to continue this journey, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss it. If you learned something new today, give this video a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in Module 2.
In our last module, we established that a security engineer is the master architect of the digital kingdom. But here's the thing. You can't design a fortress if you don't understand how buildings and roads are made.
To defend our digital world, you must first understand its fundamental building blocks. And today, we're putting on our hard hats and learning the blueprints. Welcome to Module 2, Foundational IT Concepts. In this essential lesson, we're going to master 4 critical areas.
First, we'll explore Windows fundamentals, the OS that runs most of the corporate world. Then, we'll jump into the command line with Linux fundamentals, the engine of the internet. After that, we'll map out the digital roads with network fundamentals. And finally, we'll decode the universal language of data transfer with the OSI model.
This is the bedrock on which all security skills are built. Let's get started.
Core Content, Lesson 2.1, Windows Fundamentals. Think of Windows as a pre-built house. It's the most common design in the corporate world, and you absolutely must know where its security features are.
At its core, Windows separates operations into 2 modes: kernel mode, which has unrestricted access to the hardware, and user mode, where your applications run with limited privileges. This separation is a fundamental security boundary.
A key feature is User Account Control, or UAC. That's the prompt that dims your screen and asks for permission when a program tries to make important changes. It's the system's way of saying, are you sure you want to let this program have the keys to the castle?
And of course, we have built-in tools like Windows Defender, the antivirus, and BitLocker, which provides full disk encryption to protect your data if your laptop is ever stolen.
Core Content, Lesson 2.2, Linux Fundamentals.
If Windows is a pre-built house, Linux is a custom home where you have access to all the raw materials. It powers the majority of the world's web servers, and proficiency with its command line is non-negotiable for a security engineer. The file system starts from a single root directory, represented by a // Everything branches from there. Key directories you'll see are /etc for configuration files and /var log, where most log files are stored. The most critical concept is file permissions. Every file and directory has permissions for 3 types of users: the owner, the group, and others. And for each user type, there are 3 permissions: read, write, and execute.
Core Content Lesson 2.3, Network Fundamentals.
A computer network is the digital road system that connects everything. A local area network, or LAN, connects devices in a single office or your home. A wide area network, or WAN, connects different LANs together. The internet is the world's biggest WAN.
3 devices are key. A switch is like a local traffic cop, connecting devices within the same LAN. A router is like a highway interchange, connecting different networks together. And a firewall is the guard post, inspecting traffic and deciding what's allowed through based on a set of rules.
Core Content, Lesson 2.4, the OSI model.
So how does data actually travel across these roads? It follows a standardized postal system called the OSI model, which breaks the complex process down into 7 manageable layers.
We use the mnemonic, please do not throw sausage pizza away. It starts with the physical layer, the cables and radio waves. The data link layer handles communication on the same network. The network layer is where IP addresses live, routing packets across different networks. The transport layer ensures reliable delivery using protocols like TCP, and is where we find port numbers. Finally, we get to the application layer, which contains protocols your apps use, like HTTP for web browsing.
Interactive checkpoint.
Time for a quick check. A security engineer configures a firewall to block all incoming web traffic by blocking port 80 and port 443. Based on the OSI model, at which layer is this firewall primarily operating? Pause and think about it.
Ready? It's operating at layer 4, the transport layer. Why? Because port numbers are a concept of the transport layer. By filtering based on ports, the firewall is making decisions at layer 4. Well done.
Summary.
And that is the blueprint. Today you learned the foundational architecture of Windows, the command line power of Linux, the core devices that build our networks, and the 7-layer model that governs how they all communicate.
Understanding this infrastructure isn't just IT stuff. It's the absolute foundation for every security action you will ever take. You now understand the kingdom you've been tasked to protect. Call to action, CTA.
Now that you understand the blueprint of the kingdom, it's time to learn the laws and regulations that govern it. In our next module, we're diving into core security concepts like the CIA triad and critical regulations like GDPR.
If you found value in this lesson, give this video a like and be sure to subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss Module 3. Which of these 4 topics was most new to you? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for learning with me, and I'll see you in the next one.
Welcome back to the Master Course. We've met the engineer and we understand the kingdom's infrastructure. But every kingdom is governed by laws. In the digital world, this is the official rule book. It's not just about building strong walls. It's about building them the right way, according to the rules. Scene 2, the roadmap.
And that's our entire focus for Module 3. We're diving deep into the frameworks, regulations, and core principles that govern our industry.
First, we'll tackle major data privacy laws, like Europe's GDPR and India's DPDPA. Then, we'll cover the non-negotiable industry standard for payments, PCI DSS. After that, we'll explore foundational concepts, the cornerstone of security, the CIA triad, and the modern never trust paradigm of zero trust.
Scene 3, core content.
So why are these acronyms and frameworks so important? Because they're the why behind almost every decision a security engineer makes.
These rules aren't optional. Failing to comply can lead to massive fines that could cripple a company. But more importantly, strong compliance builds customer trust. As an engineer, your job isn't just to build secure systems, it's to build systems that prove to the world your organization can be trusted with its most sensitive data.
Scene 4, interactive checkpoint.
Let's do a quick thought experiment. Think about a service you use every day, like your email. We're about to learn about the CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. For your email to be useful, which of those 3 do you think is the absolute most critical? Keeping it secret,
ensuring it's never changed, or making sure you can always access it. Drop your answer, C, I, or A, in the comments.
Scene 5. Summary. Okay, let's bring it all together. Module 3 is our deep dive into the official rulebook of cybersecurity. We're moving from the how-to of IT into the must-do of security. You'll learn the laws, standards, and core principles that provide the logic and legal backing for every security control you will ever build. Scene 6. Call to Action, CTA. We are kicking things off with the regulation that changed data privacy for the entire world. It affects almost every major company on the planet. Click right here to begin Lesson 3.1, where we will demystify the General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR. You don't want to miss this one. Let's get started.
Have you ever wondered how hackers actually pull off a major attack? It's not like the movies with random, frantic typing.
Professional cyber attacks follow a structured, predictable playbook, a step-by-step process that attackers use to go from outsider to in control. It's called the cyber kill chain, and today we're going to walk through every single link in that chain so you can learn how to break it. Scene 2. Roadmap. Welcome to Module 4. Now that you understand the kingdom and its laws, it's time to learn about the enemy. In this lesson, our mission is to break down the 7 phases of a professional cyber attack. We'll go from the initial spying phase all the way to the final data heist. Understanding this attacker's playbook is the key to disrupting their plans at every stage. Let's begin.
Scene 3. Core content. Phase 1. Reconnaissance.
Phase 1 is reconnaissance. This is the spy phase. Before an attacker does anything else, they gather as much information as they can about their target.
They're like digital burglars casing a house, looking for open windows and unlocked doors. They're scanning the company's websites, looking up employee profiles, and identifying what software they're using, searching for any potential weakness.
Scene 4. Core content. Phase 2. Weaponization.
Phase 2, weaponization. Once the attacker has identified a weakness, they forge their weapon. This means creating a malicious payload designed to exploit that specific weakness. This could be a virus attached to an email, a malicious link, or a piece of code that takes advantage of an unpatched software bug. The weapon is now ready to be delivered.
Scene 5. Core content. Phase 3. Delivery.
Phase 3 is delivery. This is the launch. The attacker sends the weaponized payload to the target. The most common delivery method by far is a phishing email, that fake message that looks legitimate, tricking an employee into clicking a link or opening an attachment. Scene 6. Core content. Phases 4 and 5, exploitation and installation.
Phase 4 is exploitation. The weapon has been delivered and the victim takes the bait. They click the link or open the file. This triggers the attacker's code, taking advantage of the vulnerability to gain a foothold in the system. This immediately leads to Phase 5, installation. The exploit allows the attacker to install malware on the victim's computer. This malware creates a persistent backdoor, so the attacker can get back in whenever they want. Scene 7. Core content. Phases 6 and 7, C2 and actions. Phase 6 is command and control, or C2. The malware that was just installed phones home to a server controlled by the attacker. This creates a secret channel that lets the attacker remotely control the infected computer. And that leads to the final, devastating step. Phase 7, actions on objectives. The attacker is in, they have control, and now they carry out their goal. This could be stealing sensitive data, encrypting files for a ransom, or destroying systems. This is the heist.
Scene 8. Interactive checkpoint. Okay, that was a lot, but you can see the logical flow. Let's put it into practice with a common phishing attack.
Here's the scenario. A user gets an email with a fake invoice. They open the attached file, which secretly installs malware. That malware then starts sending copies of their documents to the attacker.
Your challenge: map those steps to the cyber kill chain. Which part is delivery, exploitation, actions on objectives? Pause the video and think it through.
Ready? The phishing email itself is delivery. The user opening the malicious attachment is exploitation. The malware getting installed is installation. And the malware sending out data is the final actions on objectives. See how it all fits?
Scene 9. Summary.
So let's quickly recap the hacker's playbook. We learned that professional attacks follow a 7-phase cyber kill chain.
It starts with reconnaissance, moves to weaponization and delivery, then exploitation and installation to gain access, and it ends with command and control, and finally, actions on objectives, where the damage is done.
Scene 10. Call to action, CTA.
You now understand how an attacker thinks and operates. But knowing the enemy's plan is only half the battle. The other half is knowing how we fight back.
In our very next lesson, we're going to introduce the Defender's Command Center, the Security Operations Center, or SOC. It's the central watchtower where we detect and respond to these attacks.
If you don't want to miss that, make sure to hit subscribe and turn on notifications. You have the attacker's playbook. Next up is the defenders. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson.